Jim.
Okay, I see it's 12 p.m. Brian, I see you're on the line. We want to go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Brian, can you help us with the introductory comments?
This is Brian Yates. Yes, sir. Happy to do so. Welcome board to the Montgomery County MUD number 39 meeting for Wednesday, April the 21st, 2021. As in prior meetings, I'll briefly go through the remote meeting procedures and then we'll perform a roll call. So first, need to remind everyone the meeting's being recorded as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. Second, please remember to state your name before you speak, including the making of any motions. When you're not speaking, please be sure to mute your line. Third, we'll continue the practice of having a roll call to vote on each motion. After a motion has been made and seconded, please wait until you hear your name called and then respond with a verbal aye, a nay, or an abstention. Finally, we need to identify each person who's joining the meeting remotely today so that we can accurately reflect the attendance and the minutes of the meeting. I'll perform a roll call for the board members, followed by staff and consultants. When you hear your name or your company called, please respond by indicating that you're present in the meeting. Likewise, if you need to leave the meeting before it adjourns, please announce that you're doing so before you disconnect. Once I've completed a roll call for directors, staff, and consultants, I'll ask for any members of the public to identify themselves for the record. So starting with the roll call for our board of directors, Eric Berglund.
Here.
Ronnie Rogers.
Here.
Jim Matthews.
Present.
Eric Hurd.
Present.
Ted Stanley.
Present.
Okay, that completes the roll call for our board of directors. We do have a full quorum. Moving on to Woodlands Water staff, Jim Stinson.
Present.
Mike Mooney.
Present.
Marnie Bourgeois.
Present.
Jeannie Scott.
Present.
Shelley Lawson Kennedy.
Present.
Anyone else from Woodlands Water in the meeting? Not, we'll move on to Sandy Center River Authority staff, Ron Kelling,
Not here.
Chris Meeks,
Present.
Matt Corley,
Matt Corley, you're on mute.
Chris is Matt.
He's here. He's
Oh.
on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Oh, present, sorry.
got you now. And do we have Ed Shackelford?
Present.
Okay, anyone else from the River Authority in the meeting?
No, sir. No.
Okay, we'll move on to MUD 39 consultants. Do we have any MUD 39 consultants in the meeting? And moving on to members of the public. Do we have any members of the public present in the meeting? We need to identify you for the record as well. Okay, Maureen, does that cover everyone that's shown as being logged into the meeting?
Brian, we missed Ron. I think he was on mute. Ron, you're on mute. We
Still on
still
mute.
can't hear. There you go.
Ron, you there?
He's there. We just can't hear him.
Okay. Anyone else that is logged in that we haven't identified, Maureen?
I don't see anybody else.
All right, that'll complete our roll call. Jim, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you to begin the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll start with item number 2, receive comments from the public. Ron, are you able to speak today?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my my system working. Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah,
can,
it's
yes.
working now.
Okay. It helps to unplug and plug after another Zoom meeting. Okay. The reason that I'm here is I'm still concerned about that utility line settlement that's become very excessive and has caused the pavement to settle by many inches on Trade Center Boulevard. It's very obvious that the trench settlement is caused by a lack of cement stabilized sand backfill when that line was constructed. So that whole area is just settling. It's caused a major a safety problem, and this safety problem lies on the shoulders of the utility district. So I'd like for the utility district to get this item addressed so that we don't have that safety problem as a result of that utility trench failure.
Thank you, Ron. Any other public? I don't think we have any other public. And I'll mention this topic under my general manager's report. Okay, no other comments from the public. Moving on to item number 3, consider an act on request for adjustments.
This is Jeannie, and I don't have any.
Mike Mooney, anything from you?
Sorry, nothing from me this month.
Okay, thank you. The next item is our consent agenda, which includes items number 4 through item number 10. Would anybody like to remove any of the consent agenda items from the consent agenda and place it on our regular agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items 4 through 10?
Director Matthews, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items 4 through 10.
Director Berglund, I second that motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Now a roll call vote. Eric Berglund,
Aye.
Ronnie Rogers,
Aye.
Jim Matthews,
Aye.
Eric Hurd,
Aye.
and Ted Stanley.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 11 is receive staff information regarding the upcoming MCAD Board of Directors election, in particular, the special purpose district candidate. And I'm happy to report at the Metro Center MUD meeting on Monday afternoon, they voted to put forth Arthur Bredehoff as a candidate for the MCAD Special Purpose District position. So unless you have another candidate you would like to be considered for that, no action is needed today. So if there are no other candidates to be considered, we'll move on to item number 12, which is receive the attorney's report.
This is Brian. Thank you, Jim. Board, all I've been reporting under the attorney's report to other districts is kind of a summary of where we are in the legislative session. We are really in the thick of things right now. The session will end at the end of May. So there are a number of bills making their way through the legislative process, committee hearings, floor votes, et cetera. The bill volume is actually about the same as what it was in previous years, despite COVID and the late start that the legislature had this year. Meeting in person, they've still got close to 7,000 bills introduced. As we've talked about in previous years, the passage rate historically is around 15% or less, so around 1,000 bills will ultimately pass. But we are tracking a number of bills. Shelley circulated by email a couple of links to legislative summaries that have been prepared by AWBD. We assist AWBD with their legislative activity. We have two folks with our firm that act as full-time lobbyists during the session, and they've assisted AWBD with that summary. So you can find that on AWBD's website by clicking on the links from Shelley's email. Also, for any of you that are interested in diving more into the weeds, also provided Shelley with our bill tracker overall for clients and for the industry. That list is more comprehensive and includes close to 900 bills that we're tracking. So you can click on the hyperlinks on the PDF and it will take you to the Texas Legislature online, which is a great tool to be able to get detail on the bill. You can see the bill language. You can see where it is in the legislative process, if it's been referred to committee, if it's received a committee hearing, a vote, etc. If there's companion bills filed in the other chamber. So that's a great tool. If you click on any of the bills that you're curious about on that PDF for the bill tracker, and it'll take you to the Texas legislature online, and you can get more information there. But we are, very closely working with legislators right now as we're in what I call the weeding out process. 6 weeks to go. It's too early to say what bills are going to die and which ones are going to make it, but we're starting to get a little bit of sense of which ones have momentum and which ones don't. So a lot going on right now in Austin, and we'll, of course, once the session's over, have a full detailed legislative summary for y'all to be able to let you know what's changed and what will impact our district business. But that's about it under the attorney's report. Also, no updates from the governor's office regarding the proclamation as it relates to in-person meeting requirements. So we remain status quo in our remote meeting environment at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
Nothing for Brian. We'll move on to item 13, consider and act on the revision of the content policy.
This is Brian again. So this is follow up from last month's meeting. We did provide a copy of the proposed revisions in red line form for last month's meeting, and that was just for discussion purposes. It's on the agenda this month as an action item. There have been no changes to the proposed language from what was presented in red line last month. We do recommend that the board adopt the revised policy.
So we'd like to get a motion to adopt revised content.
Mr. Director Matthews, I make a motion, we approve the revised policy number con-10.
Director Berglund, I second that motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Now, a roll call vote. Eric Berglund,
Aye.
Dr. Ronnie Rogers,
Aye.
Jim Matthews,
Aye.
Eric Hurd,
Aye.
and Ted Stanley.
Aye.
The motion carries. Very good. Thank you. Moving on to item 14, the general manager's report. I did receive I think it was an email or a phone call from Ron a week or two ago regarding the Trade Center Boulevard. And just as a recap, I did meet a representative from Commissioner Matt's office. I'm drawing a blank on the name, and I drove with him and looked at the street. I think it's obvious that there are some settlement going on. And that meeting, I think, was back in January of this year. At that time, the representative from Matt's office didn't see the imperfections or the failures in the pavement warranted, in his opinion, recommending fixing at that time. After Ron's phone call or email a week or so ago, I did drive the area again, and it appears to be getting a little worse, in my opinion. I don't drive it every day, but it seemed like it was a little worse than it was back in January. Ron had requested that I get a price for jacking, what we call jacking or pumping grout in there and lifting the pavement. Ron, my plate's been too full. I don't have that today, but I did tell the representative from Met's office whenever it reached a point that they thought it needed some repair or remediation to let me know, and I would present it to my board if the concept of maybe partnering with them in some way, because I think it's clear that the settlement is occurring on mud over ditch lines. I think Mike has TV'd those lines and found that the pipes themselves are structurally sound. It's probably settlement of the ditch in some way. There's a lot of settlement going on out there in around that area, but there is obvious settlement where these mud facilities cross the street as well. So
this is Mike. Yeah, I did meet Mr. Sakowski out there We did walk the area. We did televise storm sewer and sanitary sewer. As Jim mentioned, there was no evidence of leaks in any of those pipes. So I don't know if it's trench settlement from the backfill, subgrade settlement, a combination of both, because there are multiple areas where we do not have utilities that cross the pavement that are settling as well. Pavement's got multiple patches, multiple cracks. There's a whole host of issues going on there that are not related to mud facilities. Don't know what it's related to, but it doesn't appear to be associated with the mud facility. Some do, but most do not, in my opinion.
I'm happy to ask the representative from Met's office to meet me back out there again and look at it and talk about maybe jacking the areas or what their thoughts are. It is their jurisdiction. We have a mud easement there, but it is the county's pavement and their jurisdiction on the pavement. So if there's no questions for me or discussion, I'll go on to my other items on my GM report for you today. I want to highlight some items from the trustee meeting. We did take a vote on the feasibility or the feasibility study on centralizing wastewater treatment facilities. That, as you know, had been discussed over the last several months at the trustee meeting. I'm happy to report that it did pass unanimously. The board approved to give the San Jacinto River permission or authority to go and get the RFQ submitted for consultants, score those consultants, and bring back or negotiate and work on a scope of work, and we'll be bringing that back to the trustees in the near future. I also reported, Eric, that we did have a meeting with the township director Reeser and Chairman Bunch, along with upper management of the Woodlands Township and SJRA, and that they responded very favorably to this concept of looking at wastewater treatment consolidation, even offered up some ideas regarding MUD 386 and maybe another site that could be looked at. So I think that meeting went well, and this project is now underway. We also discussed the San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group. This is a group that was created through the Texas Water Development Board to look at the San Jacinto River watershed flood planning. There are a number of our directors, along with a couple of township directors, that have been requesting and pushing, if you will, for adding another voting member to this group. And that effort was successful. They have agreed to add what is referred to as a San Jacinto River upper watershed voting member, which would upper watershed being the Montgomery County area. Some of our directors and others thought that Montgomery County may have been underrepresented on that group. So that was good news, I guess. And you may remember a couple of months ago, we had an item on each of the MUD agendas to consider supporting Dr. Neil Gaynor as an additional member to that flood planning group, if indeed they were to add another voting member. So based on the action of all 10 of our MUDs supporting Dr. Neil Gaynor, I will be preparing a letter to the Regional Flood Planning Group, kind of formalizing our support for Dr. Neil Gaynor for this new voting position. And just a reminder, he serves as the president of MUD 6 and on the One Water Task Force at the request of Chairman Bruce Reeser. Our discussions with TACUS are ongoing. We've had 2 one-on-one meetings with them. The second meeting involved our attorney and their attorney. We're looking at tweaking their construction techniques standardizing and improving notifications for locating our facilities, and of course, reimbursement for the mud damage or damage to the mud facilities, the cost the muds have incurred on that. And I would say the discussions are going favorably. Matter of fact, I had a meeting with their chief financial officer for 2 hours this morning. So I think the talks are still going in the right direction. We'll see how it evolves over the next week or two. But as you may know, we're poised to take legal action if the talks don't follow through or fail in some way. We also reported the Bear Branch Reservoir here in the Woodlands has an annual inspection, and the last inspection reveals some voids underneath the concrete slope paving. So the San Jacinto River Authority, their Lake Conroe division, is leading an effort to do further research and exploration and try to determine the extent of those voids. We hope to have that information to present to the MUDs back in July, in time for their budgets to be reviewed in September and August. I'm still working with a couple of residents that live adjacent to AMI pole installs. I've talked about it over the last couple of months. There's a pole up at the intersection of Lake Woodlands Drive and Woodlands Parkway that a resident has concerns about, and then one over near the Slash Pine water plant. So we're still working on if there are any options for relocating those. A little progress. John Powers has indicated that there happens to be a park next to each one of these sites that they would consider partnering with us to put the pole on the park site. So we'll see how that plays out. I did report that we've got a rather important meeting set for May the 3rd with our audit committee, which Eric Hurd will also be attending to discuss San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division wholesale water and sewer rates for the coming year. We're going to be talking about the GRP rates. We're going to be talking about the concept of a 50-50 blend of water, surface water and groundwater. We're going to be talking about the project 10-year plan for the River Authority and potential financing options for that rather expensive 10-year plan, well over $100 million. So a lot to be reviewed at that meeting. In your packet, there is an update, a monthly update from HARC on our interlocal agreement with them. And certainly want to introduce Ed Shackelford to you guys. Ed will be taking over some of the duties of Ron Kelly. Just a reminder, Ron is retiring and will be leaving the River Authority in October of this year. So welcome, Ed Shackelford. Ed has been around the mud industry and the civil engineering industry in this area for a long, long time, and glad to have Eric as a partner.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions for me regarding my GM report? If not, we'll move on to item number 15, consider an act on AWB district voting member representative. In your packet is a copy of an email we received from AWBD. And just a short, quick summary, they are requesting each of the MUDs that are members of AWBD, not just the Woodlands, but all their MUDs, select one individual out of the 5 MUD members to be the voting representative for that district. I think in the past, they've allowed all MUD members to vote, but for whatever reason, they're wanting to narrow that down and wanting you to select a member, at least to vote in the upcoming bylaws, amendments of election, and the June AWBD trustee election. So if you have an interest in participating in that, I would ask that you select one of your members to cast your vote. And to help, I think Brian Yates had indicated in some of his other MUDs that the protocol was to have the president take on that responsibility. Is that right, Brian Yates?
This is Brian. That's correct. For those districts that are interested in participating, you don't have to necessarily be planning to attend the AWBD conference this summer in person. You just have to be willing to take the time to take a look at the proposed amendments to the bylaws and be available on May the 13th to participate in that remote vote, and also to participate in the trustee vote in June for AWBD. But some boards that did want to participate and had multiple members of the board attend the AWBD conference would just delegate the authority to the presiding officer, which is your board president.
And yeah, I should better emphasize, you don't have to be at any of the meetings to cast the vote. This is an electronic remote vote system that they've implemented.
Hey, this is Director Berglund. Is there anybody that's planning on being there?
I don't think anybody from this MUD is signed up, to my recollection. We do have a handful of other and actually this meeting in June is an option. You can either attend it via webinar or Zoom, or you can attend in person. I think I heard they're limiting the number of members that can attend in person, but it's going to be a combination. But I don't think anybody from MUD 39 has signed up to attend based on my what I've seen.
Well, I guess I'm willing to do it. If there's somebody that's going or wants to do it, they can do it. Or if you want to have me do it, whichever. I'll let somebody decide.
I think, Eric, if you're volunteering, I would make a motion that we appoint you as the representative. Is there anyone else that'd be interested in doing this besides Eric?
And you won't hurt my feelings.
So
Okay.
we have a motion.
I'll make that
Director
motion.
Matthews, I'll second the motion.
And I have a motion and a second. Any discussion, further discussion on it? If not, we'll call the vote. Eric Berglund,
Aye.
Dr. Ronnie Rogers. You're muted, Dr. Rogers. Hello, hello.
He's out looking at the bluebells.
Okay, we'll come back to Ron Rogers. Jim Matthews,
Aye.
Eric Hurd. Eric Hurd.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Ted Stanley.
Aye.
And Ron Rogers, are you with us, back with us? So can we record a four ayes and one non-vote? Brian Yates, our attorney?
This is Brian, yes.
Okay, the motion carries with 4 votes and 1 unable to cast. Item 16, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees report.
We'll defer that report to Eric Berglund.
Thank you very much. I had the honor of stepping into Director Hurd's sandals. And I think Jim went over most everything in the report. The only thing we didn't pass that was motion for was to move the start time of those meetings to 5 instead of 6, which I voted in favor of, but people didn't. Some people followed my lead, but some people didn't. So that didn't pass. Other than that, it was a pretty productive meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Eric Berglund. I don't think we have anything for item 17 today. So we'll move on to item 18, discuss any matters for placement on a future agenda. Anybody have anything? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn 12:30 PM?
Director Matthews, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Director Berglund, second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much and see y'all in May.
Enjoy the day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thank
Thank
y'all,
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.